and welcome to another episode of Umineko Naku Koro ni Banquet of the Golden Witch. I forgot to unmute myself, but that's okay. Let's start you off with a content warning. The content warning for this game is child abuse, character deaths, detailed descriptions of gore and body horror, mentions of suicide, misogyny, and some awkward skeeviness from teenage boys. Oops. I said all that before, but you couldn't hear me, but that's okay. Hello, welcome to the stream, and potentially to the VOD, or the video. I hope you're having a good day. Let's start off with a little recap, because a lot happened last episode, and I'm not even sure where to begin. Ava solved the epitaph, was then handed the power of the Golden Witch, and became Ava Beatrice. Or rather, the young version of Ava that she keeps seeing became a new witch. With endless power that she immediately used on Rosa and Maria to murder them. This made Balor very upset, and he lashed out at Beatrice, displaying some kind of power of his own that we haven't really found anything more about yet. So that's still a mystery. Additionally, the adults are trying to figure out what the hell happened. They initially thought that the murders were fake, but now that Rosa and Maria are dead, you know, it's starting to get scary for them and real. And they're currently working on a way to figure out who the culprit is, and to potentially defend themselves against this culprit. And yeah, that's kind of where we left off. I think that's everything, at least. So let's dive right in. As always, I'm very hyped for this episode. Some good stuff coming up ahead. What is it, Ava? Is your body still feeling bad? Mother, what's wrong? Are you okay? Sorry. It looks like my fever is still strong. I'll be fine, so leave me alone. When they looked, they saw Ava staring at the floor, her breathing harsh again. She had been able to act firm for a time due to the urgency of their situation, but it seemed her body wasn't at its best after all. Yeah, I killed those two. Now we're the only ones who know about the gold. I won't give up even a scrap to the other siblings. What have you done? There was so much of that gold, right? Giving Rose and the others their share wouldn't have been a problem at all, right? It would. That gold is to be passed on only to the head of the Ushiromiya family. That's because it, as a whole, represents no more or less than the honor of the head. To wound that even a tiny bit is definitely not something that I, the new Golden Witch, Beatrice, will permit. Do you plan to continue these murders according to the witch's epitaph? Do you actually plan to become a murderer 5 more times? Yeah. If I don't finish that annoying ceremony, it seems my power as a witch won't become complete. Hey, me. The power of the witch is really awesome. It really can make all the crazy things we imagine become reality. The power to make dreams more than just dreams. Now that I've learned of this power, I can no longer stop being a witch. If I can finish the ceremony and make my power complete, I'm sure I'll be able to teach you that feeling too. Stop acting like a fool. Haven't you played at being a witch long enough? We found the gold, and we've even been promised the position of the successor. We'll probably need to tightrope walk just a bit, but by now, that's a dream that will definitely come true. Beyond that, what more could you wish for? I wanted to become a witch. I don't give a damn about that dream. That's right. Because I kept holding on to that dream, I've lived at this age forever. When you became an adult, you threw that dream away. No matter how long you wait, the rabbit holding a clock won't visit you, and you won't be able to meet Humpty Dumpty. Of course, you definitely won't be invited to the Land of Cards. Because you gave up and accepted all that, you became an adult. So you don't want to become a witch or anything like that anymore. You've even forgotten that it truly was your own dream at one point. Anyway, stop it. I've already gotten my hands on 2 dreams. The gold and the position of head. That's more than enough. So please, your dream has nothing to do with me. Stand down. No way. Magic's too interesting. Also, those 2 dreams of yours both became true because of my magic. It wouldn't be fair if my dream didn't come true too. I'm grateful for your magic, and I acknowledge that you're a real witch. So just stand down and return to the inside of my heart, and never appear again. No way. We're both misunderstanding each other, aren't we? That's right. I am not you anymore. You are Ushiromiya Eva. I am the Golden Witch, Beatrice. So it's not my responsibility to go back inside your heart. I guess I feel like a butterfly who's broken out of her cocoon, meaning you. The fever is making my mind cloudy. My inexperience with magical power is forcing me to support it with your vitality. Until I finish the ceremony and become a full witch, you might have to bear the burden. I'll take that as payment for making 2 of your dreams come true. It's fine, don't worry, okay? For the remaining 5 sacrifices, I'll avoid your family. Let's see. Rudolph, Kirie, Kraus, Natsuhide. One sec. I had to cough. Jeez, that was very sudden. Just suddenly something stuck in my throat. And again, jeez, sorry about that. That's never happened before, which I guess I should be grateful for. After that, what about that old Kijin Nanjo? Perfect, I'll kill those 5 people. Could you call this a murder announcement revealed only to you? Eva finally crouched down. Hideyoshi rushed up to her and lent her his shoulder. Are you okay? Let's take it easy and rest. Are you alright? Dr. Nanjo, take a look at Eva. When Nanjo and George tried to approach, Eva made a gesture to stop them. Thank you. I'm fine, Dr. Nanjo. I'm taking medicine. I apologize for saying this during such an extreme situation, but let me rest a little longer. Mom, I'll lend a hand too. Thank you. But I'll be fine as long as your father watches over me. Go back to the 2nd-story cousin's room and don't come out, no matter what. Understood? No matter what happens, you must not leave the guest house. Outside, that witch will... Don't talk anymore. Sorry everyone, but I'll be watching over Eva in our room. Tell us if something happens. Hideyoshi and Eva retreated from the lobby. However, Eva wasn't the only one who wasn't feeling good. They hadn't gotten a wink of sleep since the previous night, and had been pressed by tension since that morning. They were mustering their energy to protect their families, but if they relaxed even a little, surely everyone would be down and out. Everything has gone as planned until now, but from here on out, it will become difficult, you see. Difficult meaning... Indeed. Normally, as the ceremony progresses and the victims increase in number, they begin to tighten their guard, and in most cases, they hole up in one place and stop moving. That is extremely inconvenient for us. Are you saying that we witches are inferior to a bunch of humans in a group? Witches are never inferior to humans. However, perhaps you could say that times change and that humans have gotten their hands on the poison. This wasn't a problem long ago, when people believed in witches. But just like that annoyance battler, people in the current era deny magic on a fundamental level. In other words, their existence itself is anti-magical. As a result, at some point, they grew to possess a toxin inside their bodies that denies magic. In other words, you're saying that the more humans there are, the stronger that magic-resistant toxin gets, and the greater the disadvantages for us witches. The combined amount of power in their hearts that denies magic, in other words, their magic resistance power, becomes the denominator in the equation of your magic's power. Hey Chula, welcome. Yeah, I turned raids off specifically because it's happened a couple times before, but it's like I'm halfway through the episode and it's literally impossible to recap, so if new people come along, it's like I got nothing for you, so I turned them off. I'm sorry. But I'm very happy they're here. I hope you're having a good day. And, yeah. Understand. Is that a bit too difficult for you? You're joking. Actually, I understand it easily. In other words, you're saying that the more people there are who don't believe in magic, and the stronger their will is, the more the effects of our magic are divided. Yeah, if it's so formulaic, I'll have to rethink my method of attack. Yeah, I appreciate the thought, too. It's very nice of you. And, yeah, it's always good to have people drop in anyway. Fundamentally, magic possesses a vast power. It can even make a rain of fire fall from the heavens or divide a sea, and reviving a lost life isn't impossible either. However, that power is extremely weak against the toxin that rejects it. And that toxin started piling up in humans since the time they forgot to respect things sacred. Until finally, this earth was covered with enough toxin that the miracles of magic could not be displayed. Thus, witches from across the world were chased from their dwellings. They had been forced to choose to throw away their magic and live as humans, or else live in hiding in remote areas where the toxin of humans didn't reach. Hey Chiester, thank you for lurking. I hope you're having a good day. Welcome, welcome. In that sense, Rokkanjima, with its population of only a few dozen humans, was extremely favorable for witches. And even more favorable was the existence of the ghost story about the witch who lived in the Rokkanjima forest. In other words, by permeating the island with the fear that a witch might exist, the magic-resistant toxin from the humans was weakened. A small population and room for them to acknowledge magical beings. In other words, minds that were only weakly anti-magical. Only by existing in the valley where those two converged could a witch live in modern times. Okay, I'm gonna drink some tea real quick. General Panobi? Oh my god. That's amazing. Okay. I see. So, using this formula, we can arrive at several rules for how a witch can use her power efficiently. The first is presentation. Create a murder scene that couldn't conceivably have been done by humans. Decorate it in an occult way, make it look very much like a witch exists, and permeate people with fear to make them believe that witches exist. As a result, the anti-magic power and the denominator for our magical power will be decreased. I see. So this is why the creepy magic circles of the first Twilight were created? That's right, exactly. The gaudy scenes for the first Twilight in each game are all for that reason. It's definitely not as though I like being cruel or I'm doing it for fun. In that case, predecessor-sama, you failed this time around. You killed them in a very plain way. It doesn't look like anything more than a simple mystery. I heard about last time, and the time before that from the Ronove. You should have damaged the corpses more grotesquely, like you did then, making it look more like fantasy and instilling fear in those people. About that, I thought it wouldn't be artful to do that every time, you see? Don't think too deeply on it, it's just a whim. Actually, it really had been her whim. After what Battler had said to her, she couldn't say it out loud anymore, but she really had decided her methods of killing based on mere whims. Now, would it be better to say that she had half-heartedly let Ronove decide? After all, she left the closed rooms of this game's first Twilight to him. But if she'd had a cruel idea, then she would surely have explored the limits of atrocity even worse than in previous games. You told me to show some restraint when deciding Rose's and Maria's deaths too. But that wasn't a course of action beneficial to us witches either, was it? In actuality, by now, none of them believe even one bit that a witch actually exists. They're totally sure that it's a mystery, not a fantasy. This turn of events is a failure from a witch perspective. For some reason, you keep doing things in a kind of lukewarm way, predecessor-sama. Like they say, things you learn when you're young will definitely help you out in the future. This is a test, passed on from my predecessor to you. Take it on with respect. Beato tried to laugh heartily, but it was obviously the fake laugh of someone trying to cover something up, and the new witch shrugged with a sigh. At this stage, it's probably too late to create a scene and reduce the anti-magic power. In that case, there's another move. Getting the humans to split up should work. Indeed, that is probably the most effective way. The smaller the number of humans, the more the denominator shrinks. As a result, the magical power functions instantaneously. In other words, it all begins from one point: how to destroy this barricade situation and have them split up into small groups. However, they are already very cautious. The barricade won't be destroyed easily, right? Both the barricade in Kinzo's study 2 games ago and the barricade in the parlor last time were very stubborn. Furthermore, most of the cunning adults still remain this time. The situation is more difficult than all the ones before it, understand? If you wish, I could give you some special advice. In a closed circle, when the first murder case occurs, the survivors always hole up, gathering together to observe each other and ensure their safety. Funnily enough, not only do mystery authors and murder culprits worry about how to break that situation apart, but so do witches, who supposedly exist at the other end of the spectrum. For a while, the new witch poked her cheek with her pointer finger, and after acting as though she was planning something, she spoke. No, I'm fine. After all, this is a test. I won't borrow your moves. Really? Still, it will be rather difficult to defeat this barricade, right? I've already made my move. I'm pretty sure it'll work. And it'll definitely work on someone smart. Is that so? You really are excellent. I'm pleased to see that my disciple won't be causing me much trouble. My motto is to study things myself before asking other people. Then, if you would excuse me, I have to wait for my prey to get lured out. Indeed. Well then, handle it with care. As the new witch lowered her head, her face blank, she turned into gold butterflies and vanished. Beato didn't look happy at all. She seemed to be lonely because of how little she was being relied on. Not one of them gives a fig for me. You witch apprentice, acting so smart. I'll bet she makes some painful mistake and starts crying. Then, without a doubt, she'll finally realize my greatness and beg me to teach her. Until then, I shall watch from on high. She laughed loudly on the outside, but a laugh no one can hear is completely pointless. Beato gave up and quickly stopped laughing. Ronovit chose that time to show himself. Excuse me, milady. The game of the second twilight with Butler-sama has ended. I see. Good work. What was the result? My sincere apologies. I was forced to resign. By saying in red that both deaths were homicides, I made Butler-sama revise his claim of Rosa strangled Maria to death, then died in an accident. But I could not repel his chain of moves, placing Eva as the principal offender. Wasn't Eva sleeping in her room the whole time, as Hideyoshi cared for her? He put forth the possibility that Hideyoshi was an accomplice, and that the two worked together to create an alibi. He even suspects Hideyoshi. Couldn't you have struck back by saying in red that he was in the guest room at the time of the murder? I also thought of that, but multiple important pieces might have been taken several moves later. And because this move might be connected to the new Beatrice-sama's strategy, I acted out of respect for her. My apologies. Strategy, you say? Her mind does seem to be sharp. We can let her do as she pleases. It will be quite a show to see how far she can go. I thought you would say that. I see that the uncuteness of your discipline has left you in a bad mood. That's none of your business. I wonder how that one plans to destroy this barricade going forward. I shall keep a close eye on her. Oh, and how is Butler's mood? It appeared as though he had calmed himself down. He did say that he couldn't get fired up after all without you as his opponent. Really? Well, that's no surprise at all. If I don't return for the fourth twilight and after, Butler will probably be lonely himself. And with that, if you would excuse me, I need to go bake some delicious cookies. I must at least enliven the discussion between you and Butler-sama, milady. Indeed. That guy really was munching your cookies, wasn't he? It's no surprise that a boy can eat so much. Make a lot of them. Certainly. I shall make enough cookies to bury the table. That sounds great. That's a lot of cookies. What's going on? What did you want to talk about? Kiria called Rudolph out into the corridor. It was obvious that she wanted to talk about something that she didn't want the others to hear. Yeah? I want to go outside. Certainly. The body cannot last with nothing more than a small breakfast, but... Of course, we understand. Still, as time passes, it'll get darker and darker out. It's probably at its brightest now. It's the most convenient time. Only about an hour has passed since Rosa-san was attacked. This is simply too reckless. It was only natural that Natsuhi was yelling about recklessness. After all, Rudolph had said he was going to the mansion to get food. Certainly, on top of their fatigue, their hunger was tormenting them. In the beginning, a mild level of hunger had been just what they needed to fight off drowsiness. However, it now just made their minds hazy, since it was still only midday, and their bodies felt like they were reaching their limits. The thought of going to the kitchen in the mansion and bringing back some food certainly was attractive. I am opposed to this. It may be a little rough, but we definitely shouldn't leave this place. Don't worry about us, but it would pain my heart to keep the children hungry. I must be responsible as a parent. Dear, now that father is dead, you are the Ushiromiya family head. It is not permissible for you to take on such a danger. You're right. It's like Natsuhi-san says. Krao-san, you should remain here as our leader. Then, who will go to the mansion? I think it should be Kiri and me, and Hideyoshi-san too. Hideyoshi-san and I have guns. They shouldn't be able to lay a hand on us that easily. Rosa-san also had a gun, but she was attacked. Would it be dangerous? When I went out to check on Rosa and Maria-chan, I had a gun, but I was alone. And yet, I wasn't attacked. Maybe they'll be cautious if their opponent is a man. We'll have 2 men, and even 2 guns. Those 2 will act as guards, and I'll transport our cargo using a cart. I believe the situation will be significantly different than it was for Rosa-san. If you're counting on me because I'm a man, I'd be happy to help. I may not look it, but I'm built up pretty strong from pushing food stands around. Leave the heavy lifting to me. You men can devote yourselves to guarding. There's a folding cart in the servant room, and using that, I should be able to handle carrying the food. Of course, we'll be careful. And if we can succeed in this adventure just once, there won't be any need for us to take risks again. Is there any way I can get you to rethink this? It may be painful for everyone to deal with empty stomachs, but even so, we do not know what is happening outside now. We'll take care. And Ava's feeling pretty darn bad right now. We can't let her stay hungry. If her stomach's empty, she can't take her medicine. I have to go out, for Ava's sake as well. How is Ava? Looks like she's finally gotten to sleep. She has a high fever. If we just leave her be for a while. You can't just stand still when it comes to your wife's health. Understood. I'll give you permission to go outside. Then, we'll take a little trip there and back. A speed contest. Canned food's okay, right? You at least have a can opener here, don't you? Yes. We have a can opener and a bottle opener. There's running water in the guest house, so we won't need anything to drink. We need to get 10 people's worth, so no being picky about what you get. Alright, why don't we dash out and bring it back quickly? There's no time to open umbrellas. See you, Aniki. I'll trust you to look after this place. Take care. Under normal circumstances, I'd want to go too. But being a man, I despise how this title of the oldest brother prevents me from lending a hand in an emergency like this. This is about the only time we get to show off. Sit back and take it easy every once in a while, Aniki. Okay, Natsuhi-san. Wait here and get some towels ready or something. We aren't using umbrellas, so we'll be soaked to the bone when we get back. Understood. Take care. Rudolph, Kirie, and Hideyoshi. each leaving their own brave words behind, left the lobby. Compared to the time Rosa and Maria had gone outside, the winds were much stronger. Rudolph's group of 3 people jogged through the rose garden without umbrellas, holding their guns and a folded cart. If everything had been still and quiet, without the wind and the rain, they would probably have kept their ears open and moved with caution. But in this rain, even if some suspicious person was hiding nearby, it would be difficult to notice them. Because of that, it had been Rudolph's plan to instead dash through the dangerous area. If there was a chance that their opponent was equipped with a gun, then walking slowly with their guard up would only make them targets. Taking swift action was probably the correct choice. The Rose Garden. It feels like we're just asking to be attacked. Please, let nobody come out of there. Even as Rudolph and Hideyoshi continued to run, they looked around restlessly, vigilant of their surroundings. Rosa and Maria's deaths had not been caused by a projectile weapon. However, it was easy to suspect that the servants had been killed in such a manner. Will they come flying out of the dark? Or will they take careful aim and snipe from the shadows? Either way, they couldn't relax their tension for even an instant. But even so, when they reached the overhang in front of the entrance to the mansion, and escaped the reach of the raindrops, they felt themselves breathing a sigh of relief. No problems for the first step, unlike how it was for Rosa-san. Maybe they can't get their hands on us easily. I'd like to believe that. Kiria, unlock the door while we keep a lookout. Sure. Returning home to the mansion with a pair of SPs makes me feel just like an executive. If we had a welcoming party of servants with a red carpet, it'd be perfect. A welcoming party, huh? You never know. Be careful. As the two cautiously surveyed their surroundings, Kiria unlocked the entrance with the master key she had been given. It's open. Hideyoshi-san, could you take the front? I'll keep an eye on the rear. Understood. Kiria-san, try not to move from my shadow. Okay, let's break in. Rear guard, roger that. Covering. Men. Even in a situation like this, you're just playing around, aren't you? Give it up. That's how men are. Seriously though, that stench is awful. It felt like the air in the mansion was stagnant, with a gloomy silence. And on top of that, it was still thick with the stench from Kinzo's burned corpse in the boiler room. And they were struck with an uncontrollable desire to leave the mansion. No problems at the front, just a short dash to the kitchen. Let's finish this quickly and head home. This suit'll get fumigated with Dad's stench. The 3 of them dashed towards the kitchen. And after they disappeared from the entrance hall, the new witch appeared there. They were lured out just as planned. Just as planned, they got caught in my trap. The witch grinned. Thinking about it now, no matter how unbearable their hunger had grown, it hadn't even been a few hours since Rose and Maria had been attacked and lost their lives. In that case, why had they needed to recklessly leave the guest house? Until that question could be dealt with, the only answer was that they had been called out by the witch's magic. What reckless people. They'll never leave this mansion alive. Seal yourself. Lock. Seal yourself, mansion. The instant she proclaimed that. The mansion was sealed off into a separate world. Unless her barrier was undone, no longer would anyone be able to exit this mansion or enter it. Spectacular. To think that even though barely half a day has passed since you succeeded the Endless Witch, you can use magic this well. That talent surprises me. It's almost as though you were born a witch.
Well, I have been a witch since the time of my birth. Who taught you how to blink? That's what using magic is like for me.
What a fearsome person. The witch's face twisted with brutality. She just couldn't help looking forward to toying with someone's life again.
Well then. First up is Rudolph and Kyrie. But in what cruel way should I kill them?
If you don't mind me saying, your predecessor Sama has left instructions that you are to restrain yourself from committing murders of unnecessary cruelty. And there is an etiquette for offering the sacrifices from the 4th twilight onwards. For that, you must borrow the power of the 7 Sisters of Purgatory.
Oh, really? Now that you mention it, that's right. I can only play as I like with that 2nd twilight. Boring. Just when I thought I could play to my heart's content like I did with Rosa. But that only counts for how they're killed in the end, right?
Meaning?
I could just kill them however I want over and over again, revive them, and then follow the epitaph during the last time I killed them, right? So in the end, no matter how I play, it isn't a problem. Who'd act well behaved with an entertaining power like this?
Her absurd argument was, for an endless witch, an extremely valid one. The etiquette that controlled the manner of killing the sacrifices of the 4th twilight and onward was represented by lines like gouge the head. However, that referred to the way those people died in the end. In other words, in the process leading up to that, she was free to tease and kill them however she wanted. She just had to keep on reviving them and follow the rules only when she killed them the final time. Though Ronove felt that her innocent cruelty was part of her talent as a witch, he was beginning to notice an innately brutal side to her. They do say that apprentices are the most brutal of witches, and now I see this may be true. Do as you wish, is what I would like to say. But here it may actually be wiser to show restraint. They have guns. Weapons with a high anti-magic power, such as guns, are the natural enemies of witches and demons. The witch stared blankly at this demon butler, who was surprisingly afraid of guns.
That can't be right. Shouldn't witches be able to take a shot from a bullet easily?
No. It would be just as fatal for a witch as it would be for a normal human. To prevent that weak point from being noticed, most witches rigorously strengthen their guard with a defense of protective barriers and furniture.
Do I have any of those protective barrier things?
Constructing a barrier to make even gun bullets ineffective requires much in the way of preparation and ceremonies. I am afraid to say that Beatrice-sama currently has none of those. Furthermore, you are currently ill-prepared to summon furniture strong enough to block a bullet.
So even though I've become a great witch with this much magical power, I really do have to be afraid of lead bullets? It's annoying, but I don't have a choice. So in that case, should I call for some furniture to act as my arms and legs?
Yes. Leaving everything to your servants while not exposing yourself to danger is also a part of a witch's refined tastes. Beatrice-sama, leave this to the furniture and hide in a safe place.
I get it. I call on the 7 Sisters of Purgatory. I don't care who, any two.
Leviathan and Belphegor responded to that call.
Leviathan of Envy, right here.
Belphegor of Sloth, right here.
Show me your power. Your targets are Rudolph and Kirie. Don't attack Hideyoshi. Come on, show me just how cruel you can be, furniture. My apologies, but we've received orders from the predecessor-sama to refrain from unnecessarily cruel actions. But I think the predecessor-sama's order does give us some leeway to tease them. Do you still want to go through with it? I get it. I'll compromise. Don't let them die easily. Thoroughly corner them and let them taste the fear of death before killing them. Will that be okay, Ronove?
Yes, depending on the degree, I do not believe there will be a problem.
Then go. Yes, leave it to us.
Your opponents are armed with guns. For those such as you, dodging them should be easy. But, if you are hit, the wound will be fatal. Proceed with an appropriate level of caution.
Don't worry. We aren't that incompetent.
The two Sisters of Purgatory vanished. Ronove bowed and vanished himself.
There are even rules on how to kill them. Why do I have to be constrained by my predecessor-sama? It's so rigid and boring.
As the witch looked up at the portrait of the predecessor Beatrice hung in the hall, she cursed. The three people had already arrived at the kitchen and were gathering food supplies. Considering the possibility of poison, they gave up on the alluring fruits and vegetables, and gathered a whole cardboard box full of only the safe canned foods. It was very heavy, but by piling it on the cart, they could carry it well enough. This should be more than enough for 10 people to hold out until tomorrow's breakfast. That should carry them until the boat arrives. The two men were supposed to be focused solely on guard duty, but the weight of the load was tough on Kiriya even with the cart. Hideyoshi, who wanted to show off his power, switched to be the cart pusher, and Rudolph and his wife took up the task of guard duty. With all this, even George and the kids will be full. The trip back will be a picnic, so let's go. When Hideyoshi vigorously announced their departure, Kiriya frowned and seemed to be gazing into the distance. There was a wall in that direction. No. If her gaze could go through that, there was the main hall beyond it. What is it, Kiriya?
It's big, but I've got a bad feeling gnawing at me.
Kiriya stopped walking and narrowed her eyes even further. Women's intuition? At times like this, Kiriya's intuition often rang true, even when she didn't have a logical reason. Rudolph believed in that intuition.
Yes. Someone's probably waiting to ambush us. I didn't sense them before, but just now I felt it. Just now, someone set up an ambush for us.
Then there's no reason to go back the way we came. There's a back door over there, right? Let's leave that way. Rudolph made to unlock the back door. When goods were carried into the kitchen, they never passed through the part of the mansion that the family came and went from. So, outside the back door, there was probably a ramp used to carry things in. Surely, they would be able to leave through there with a cart. What the heck? It's stuck. Damn, what's going on?
Can't you open it?
Nope. Is it broken? It isn't giving an inch. Rudolph tried various things, first using force, then coaxing it, but the lock was as hard as stone and didn't even budge. Don't force it. Let's leave through the front entrance. Right now, it'll be even worse if we stand around wasting time. Do you think it's a trap?
I don't know. Be careful.
With strained expressions, the three of them returned to the hall again and headed for the entrance. Who is it? The instant they exited into the hall, Rudolph noticed a suspicious shadow right in front of them and yelled. In that instant, a storm of gold leaf started blowing, and gold butterflies covered the area with a gold color.
I can't believe it. A lowly human predicted our ambush. It isn't my fault. I was hiding my presence. Don't hesitate. Fire.
The two guns spouted fire. The lead bullets blasted right through the magical defense of the pair as easily as though it were a wet paper wall. But the two figures that should have been there had disappeared. Certainly, guns were frightening objects for them, but there was no need to fear as long as they weren't hit. They at least had enough speed to dodge those.
Wait a sec. You won't even give us a chance to say our names? This is why I hate humans.
Leviathan was a full 10 meters from where she had supposedly been, popping her head out from behind the pillars in the shadow of the staircase and protesting.
In accordance with Beatrice-sama's orders, we will hunt you down. Our orders tell us to make it take some time and to tease you. You are free to resist, but know that it will be useless.
That voice came from overhead. Belphegor could be seen on top of the hall chandelier. Elegantly looking down upon them, she proclaimed their execution with a cruel smile. What are these girls?
Forget the cart. We have two opponents, so if we split up, they can't chase all of us.
All three of them were well acquainted with the inside of the mansion. In case of a crisis, they had planned to run off in separate directions, returning to the guest house by breaking windows or leaving through a back door. Fighting was forbidden, as long as they could fully escape. In a tight spot, escaping is victory. The three of them ran into the depths of the mansion at full tilt. That pair of furniture calmly watched them go.
I'll kill the woman. You take the man.
Understood. The furniture in the shadows of the pillars and on the chandelier made their figures explode, and, leaving behind only the sound of a hopping beetle knocking against the wall, they pursued their respective targets. Their speed was overwhelming, and they easily blocked the others' paths of retreat.
Let's see what this furniture's got. I hope they're at least able to amuse me.
Beatrice-sama, it may not be prudent for you to reveal your form unnecessarily.
And you don't unnecessarily move your king away from the center. That's part of a monarch's and a witch's dignity.
Belphegor was already blocking the way in front of Rudolph, who had boldly tried to escape to the second floor.
It's useless to try and resist or escape. You don't need to think about anything. Just close your eyes. I'll gently end it all for you.
You'd make a good wife. Husbands love to hear that kind of thing when they come home all tired.
Do you think you're still relaxed enough to speak with such insolence at a time like this? Beatrice-sama, thank you for this excellent prey. Die.
Rudolph shot first. But even before that bullet could hit her, Belphegor had already moved behind Rudolph's back. She then raised a purple curve springing out from her arm. However, incredibly, before that arm could decapitate Rudolph, he had swung his gun behind him. The barrel remained pointing behind his back, from the same motion with which he had reloaded the sawed-off gun one-handedly. It was pointing right at Belphegor's chest. Click, clunk. It was the sound of the ejected empty cartridge finally hitting the wall after the reload. In other words, it meant that the next shot was already fully loaded. Without turning around, his gun pointing right at Belphegor's chest, Rudolph grinned.
Not bad. For a middle-aged man.
Don't look down on the generation that loves old westerns, okay? You brats don't know anything about the refinement of a lever action. Just like Rudolph, Kirie was also confronting a demon stake in the first floor corridor.
What a moron. You could have just escaped with your husband. You do know that that was your final farewell just now, right?
Don't worry. This kind of thing is my husband's specialty. I'm sure he'll come for me on a white horse soon. Because he's never failed to come and save me when I'm in trouble. Not even when Azumu-san was around.
What a happy couple. I'm jealous. I am Leviathan of Envy. Envy itself is my power. My anger, my lifeblood.
I agree. Envy is the source of everyone's power. And if that is power, I won't lose to a girl like you.
Imagine saying that to the one who governs Envy. You actually think I'd let you two be reunited? I'll give you a tragic farewell.
The arm Leviathan swung was trailed by a purple curve. It was a magic blade that cut with the power of malice. Kirie blocked it with her gun. Even though the magic blade should have cut through the metal like butter, the gun, with its extremely high magic resistance power, was able to block the blade as easily as if it were a rolled-up newspaper. Rapidly, 2 times, 3 times, it blocked all of them. And, without missing the opening created when that purple curve took a swing upward, Kirie kicked Leviathan in the stomach with her heel. Leviathan was knocked away like a lightly dancing feather. Before the demon stake's feet touched ground again, Kirie was already pointing her gun directly at Leviathan in midair. From that position, the 2 women who had called Envy a form of power met each other's gaze.
Can you do it? Can you pull that trigger?
I can be brutal when my husband isn't around. Ow, 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 ow. Rudolph tumbled down the staircase. He'd been gradually cornered by Belphegor, and had been pushed back into the main hall they'd started from.
The predecessor summon's furniture is pretty good. They aren't very flashy, though.
Beatrice-sama, it isn't over yet, and it's dangerous to show yourself. Don't tell me you're... Ava?
That used to be my name, but it's different now, Rudolph.
You don't have to tell me. You're gonna say you're the Golden Witch Beatrice, right?
How did you know?
Since the time Rosa was killed, I had a vague idea. Rosa, forgive me. Forgive me for sending the sister you hated down to the hell you're in.
Beatrice-sama, look out!
Rudolph mercilessly pointed the barrel of his gun at the witch who claimed to have once been his sister. But Belphegor would not permit that, and attacked savagely. She dashed, disappeared, and headed for Rudolph's back. She dodged that, and that shot. She dodged that shot and again headed for Rudolph's back. And vanished over and over, instantly moving into Rudolph's blind spots. It was almost like she was a fairy. As she blinked in and out of vision, Belphegor incessantly drove towards Rudolph.
Maybe this is kind of fun. Rudolph, let me sit back and watch to see how long your brave efforts last you.
At that time, there was a dull tearing sound, along with Rudolph's cry of anguish. Rudolph's reaction to the dance of the purple curve that pressed upon him had finally been too slow, and he let it lightly cut his flank. That single wound slowed him down just once. That led to a new wound, which slowed his actions again. Belphegor's dance began to swallow Rudolph whole. Watching Rudolph's body gradually get carved up, his former sister let out a shrill laugh. Leviathan could no longer hide her irritation that Kyrie hasn't suffered a single fatal wound.
I really am a moron. Among the 7 sisters, I was always the slowest to grow. I was always slow, always weak, and always stupid. That inferiority complex became envy, and when I convert that into power, I gain a strength greater than that of any of the sisters.
It's important for young girls to have a moderate inferiority complex. It teaches women about cosmetics and hard work. What?
I don't like having to use the limits of my power against mere humans, but I can turn my envy of your ability to trust completely in your But I can turn my envy of your ability to trust completely in your husband into power. I don't like it. Why are you so relaxed when you're fighting for your life?
I wonder.
I get it. You're fully convinced that your husband will come to your rescue and save you. Isn't it incredible, that trust of yours? It's enough to make me jealous.
What kind of trust did we sisters have for each other? The sisters are always looking down on each other, trying to thoroughly lambast each other when things already look bad.
I've always been bullied by my sisters. I've always wanted just one person to take my side. So when I see you with a single ally who's completely trustworthy, I feel the strongest envy. That confident expression of utter belief in your husband, I can feel it giving me power. I might even surpass that. The speed of sound.
Leviathan turned herself into a stake, and the speed of her flight as she attacked was proportional to the strength of her envy.
Since the day my sisters looked down on me, I was jealous from the bottom of my heart of the other 6 who grew quickly. I was jealous for 7 days and 7 nights. You can see the power I gained as a result in my speed. Die, Ushomiya Kyrie.
The demon stake exposed her true form, leaping about at a terrible speed. The noise from her bouncing off the walls sounded like a machine gun. By now, Kyrie probably couldn't tell if it was a single stake or a swarm of beetles flying and bouncing around. Leviathan was over 100% certain of her victory, believing in it from the bottom of her heart. Then, Kyrie spoke with an unbelievably calm voice. I was the one who went out with Rudolph-san first. Azumi-san blatantly cut in between us, and shrewdly got pregnant. I don't blame Rudolph-san. That woman used her body as a weapon to seduce him and then acted even more repulsively, cornering Rudolph-san and forcing him to get engaged to her. Azumi-san had been carrying Battler-kun, and at the same time I was also carrying a boy. As fate would have it, our delivery dates were on the same day. Then, Azumi-san gave birth to Battler-kun, but I had a miscarriage. I think about it sometimes. What if Azumi-san had had the miscarriage and I had been the one to give birth? Would Rudolph-san have broken off his engagement and married me? But I couldn't give birth to my child. So until Azumi-san died, and until I got pregnant with Anju, I cursed Azumi-san and was jealous. Let Azumi-san die. Then I want him to marry me. In my envy, I kept cursing like that, over and over, until Azumi-san finally died. I was certain that I'd used the power of magic to curse and kill Azumi-san.
that didn't quell the flames of my envy. Don't tell anyone, okay? Every time I look at Balakun, I remember that woman. Every single time I look at him, I think that if only my child had been born, he would be the same age. I'm still jealous of her, tormented by her, even now, and from now on, into the future, for all eternity. You say you were jealous of your sisters for 7 days and 7 nights. That's right. Don't make me laugh, little girl. How could you understand the madness of a woman whose man was stolen from her, and who's burned with envy for 18 years? If Leviathan had the power of 24 hours times 7 days, or 168 hours of speed, then the power that Kitty had piled up was 24 hours in 1 day, 365 days in 1 year, and 18 whole years. Even without counting leap years, that was a lot. 150... 70... I'm very bad at numbers. It was a lot. Compared to Leviathan's power and speed, it was more than 938 times greater. So then, even if Leviathan could soar at the speed of sound, 1,225 kilometers per hour, to Kitty's eyes it only looked like a fraction of that. I don't even know how to say it. I'm so bad at numbers. Which means 1,225 divided by 938 is a speed of 1.3 kilometers per hour. They say a human's walking speed is 4 kilometers per hour, so it was even less than half of that. This is almost the same speed as a baby crawling on the floor. Which means... In the time it took the demon stake to move at a pace so slow that you could count all the bits of dust floating through the air, Kitty looked at it with pity. She pitied the slowness at which it came towards her. Then she lazily raised the barrel of her gun, almost as though she was trying to swallow the demon stake up with the gun barrel. You're completely lacking in both romance and envy. Try harder next time, little girl. That's my girl. Rudolph, what happened to all that vigor from a couple seconds ago? You were supposed to slice up a fish while it's still flopping around. After it dies, it isn't interesting anymore. That's enough. Why not kill you now? Damn it. I'm surprised you managed to endure this long after being carved up. That's enough. From now on, you don't need to think about anything. I'll steal away your life painlessly. Wait, there's a favor I want to ask. At the very end, I want to do one of those... What do you mean, one of those? You know, that thing you see in all the westerns. We start with our backs together, walk 3 steps, and then bang. Ah, the duel. Very well. If that will satisfy your regrets in this world, I'll accept. Rudolph moved his wound-covered body and turned his back to her. Belphegor responded and turned her back to his.
Belvacor had an honest nature that was uncommon in a witch's furniture.
Let me warn you. Even if you press the barrel of your gun between my eyebrows, I can move instantaneously, even faster than you could pull the trigger and have the bullet reach my skull.
Yeah, I can feel that already. For you're faster than a bullet.
I have agreed to this out of respect for your courage in challenging me to a duel despite that knowledge. Thank me.
Well, you're an honest and principled person, and a good woman. You might just steal my heart away.
Let's begin. 3 steps will do fine, yes? First, 1 step.
2 steps.
3 steps. Is that okay?
Yep. And, since you still haven't noticed after walking 3 whole steps, it's my victory, miss.
What?
Rudolph turned around and fired a bullet. However, Belphegor could easily see through the speed and trajectory of a bullet like that. It should have been no problem at all to dodge it. But a spray of fresh blood flew about. Belphegor had set up an adequate magical defensive barrier, but before an incarnation of anti-magic power such as that bullet, it was completely meaningless.
What are you doing? Why'd you get hit?
The bullet had hit Belphegor right in the chest. The pain from the lead caused her to grimace, as did the pain from the denial of magic. Forgive me. I'm a coward of a man.
What a killjoy. To think that furniture of a witch could be defeated by a human. Know your shame. Worthless, pathetic. If only you just grovel and die.
Quit it, Aniki. She could have dodged it, but she didn't. She realized that you were in the line of fire, Aniki. So this faithful girl took it without dodging, protecting you. At the very end, she saw that I was pinning the rook and the king.
Spectacular.
Don't hate me for it. I planned to resign if you noticed it while you were taking those 3 steps.
You added those 3 steps. Out of consideration for me, didn't you? I didn't even try to think about it. I was lazy.
You were a good woman. Go to heaven before me and get yourself all made up. I'll definitely come and chat you up.
Rudolph, for fuck's sake, now's not the time, or the place, or the situation, or the anything.
As Belphegor slowly fell over, she lost even the power that kept her in uniform, and she grew small, like gold dust, melting into thin air. At that point, Kitty had dashed in. It seemed that she had somehow defeated her pursuer by her own hands. As she pointed the barrel of her gun straight at the witch, she ran up to the wound-covered Rudolph.
Are you okay?
Were you chatting someone up just now? Yep, a good woman. No match for you, of course. Sorry, Aniki. It's checkmate. The 2 of them pinned the witch down the barrels of their guns, even.
Worthless furniture. To think they'd be beaten by human opponents. Worthless. Stupid. Boring.
Beatrice-sama, we should retreat for now. There is no furniture or barrier to guard against bullets here. The witch began to let out a muffled laugh. It surprised not only Rudolph and Kitty, but Ronove as well. Because a situation like this, with 2 guns pointed at her, was not one that even a witch could just laugh off. But the witch laughed with pleasure.
Well, it's only natural that the predecessor Sama's worn-out furniture couldn't do it. I need to get new furniture that's suitable for me. I use them out of obligation, but I've always hated second-hand stuff.
As she said that, she looked down at Belphegor's remains, which had already finished turning into a pile of gold dust, with disgust. I don't know what you're talking about. Be a good girl and put your hands up. Then, the witch obediently raised her hands. But instead of raising her hands because a gun was being pointed at her, it looked more like she was a conductor facing an orchestra, waving her conductor's baton.
Come, arise. Furniture suitable for me. Not that cheap furniture, much stronger ones. Cruel ones.
Stop this bizarre act. I'll pull the trigger. Real quick, gotta save. And drink some water. Hold on. In response to the witch's call, the hall was once again buried with the color of gold. As the brilliantly radiant gold butterflies danced, it felt as though they were being sucked into an ocean of gold leaf. Dronove was shocked at that upsurge in magical power. After all, it far surpassed that of his former master. As their eyes were dazzled amidst this golden flash, a gunshot could be heard. Either Rudolph or Kiria had fired a round. Then, when the golden flash subsided, at the very least the witch was standing there, looking cool and composed. The bullet? Kiria must have fired it into her, but the witch had not been hit anywhere on her body. There it is. The bullet had been fastened in midair, right in front of the witch's chest. A bulletproof barrier. In an instant, a barrier that would require a significant amount of preparation even for the predecessor had been... Dronove's face was twisted in shock. And the surprises did not end there. The cloud of gold butterflies had created two humanoid forms. It was a furniture summoning. The butterflies peeled off and flew away, and beneath them, furniture in the shape of girls showed themselves. The Chiester sisters' court. Even the predecessor wasn't able to summon Pendragon's memorial troops on a moment's notice, and to do it so easily. Oh my god, new characters.
Chiester 410, right here. Chiester 45, right here. You two are suitable furniture for me, I take it? From reading a picture book out aloud, to going on a date, to shooting down meteorites. We'll take care of anything. If we don't take care of it, Pendragon-sama will get mad at us. Please, your orders, great Lady Beatrice.
Rudo-san, let's run for it. We're no match for these ones. Sure. Kiria definitely heard warning sirens going off in her head, thanks to the same feeling that had alerted her to the ambush by the Seven Sisters of Purgatory. Without hesitation, they escaped. As the witch elegantly watched them leave, she commanded her new furniture.
This is an order. Kill the two who ran away. Then bring the corpses back here. I'll bring them back to life and play with them over and over.
The witch's expression twisted into an evil smile. even though she feared that expression. Lucifer appeared and spoke.
Forgive my presumption, but the predecessor-sama asked that you avoid brutal actions of that sort.
When the witch stared at her with those terrifying eyes, Lucifer was struck dumb. She was frustrated. It was so boring, not being able to let her own power and cruelty run wild. This annoying furniture of the predecessor kept telling her to show restraint, bringing her irritation to a peak.
Oh, it's Lucifer of Pride. Long time no see, Nia. How you doing? Let's play together again sometime. You mustn't whisper for 10. You'll get in trouble. Let us carry out the great Lady Beatrice's order at once. Well, yeah, we are on the job right now, Ni. Or 10, roger that. Preparing for sniping pursuit combat. Accumulating terrain data. Accumulating data for firing. Data link with 410. 410, data received. Target lock acquired. Commencing terrain calculation error correction. Formulating firing curve. Supplemental control point calculations complete. Data link to 45. 45, data received. Checking hazard zone. That's no good. Lucifer-chan, better get out from behind us, or you'll get roasted by the backblast.
Thanks to their paired measurements, the Chiester sisters were able to instantly calculate the terrain throughout the mansion and the coordinates of their targets, as well as a firing curve to reach them. That's right, their shots could be guided to follow a curved line. None could escape. The precision guidance used by the Seven Sisters of Purgatory was nothing more than a cheap knockoff of the ability these two held.
45. Firing preparations concluded. Ammo type selected and loaded.
As the two of them faced each other, it was as though they were both pulling back a bowstring together. A dazzling gold arrow was readied there.
Or 10. Firing.
After giving that announcement, they released a single arrow together. As the path taken by the gold-sparkling snake of light drew a curve, it followed the direction that Rudolph and Kiria had escaped to in rapid pursuit. It turned through the corridors, crawled over the floor, chasing them as it drew a beautiful curve. No one could block the guided shots of the Chiester sisters. No one could escape from them, and their strength could pierce all physical and magical defenses. It was quite a merciless guided weapon of certain death. However, among mythical class soldiers, it was a weapon used by pretty much everyone. It was very commonplace for them and very extraordinary for those of the everyday world. What the? When he noticed something rapidly chasing them and turned around. The exact position of Rudolph's heart was pierced by the gold snake. It all happened in an instant.
Rudolph-san.
After the gold snake pierced Rudolph, it swooped down to the floor, drawing a beautiful spiral, coiled itself around Kiria's legs, and crawled up to her chest. And, just like Rudolph, it pierced the exact location of her heart. And all of that happened in an instant. It pierced Rudolph and then Kiria. So they died, dropped to their knees, and fell over at almost the exact same time.
What's this? Talk about overwhelming. Ridiculously easy, isn't it? This is the kind of furniture I need. Way different from predecessor Sama's second-hand furniture. Come on, bring their corpses here. I'll keep reviving them until I'm bored, and I'll try killing them in as brutal a way as I can think of. To think being a witch could be so much fun. That taking a life could be so much fun.
From the time humans are born, the most shunned action they can take is the murder of another human. It's only natural that humans can't understand how pleasurable it can be to break this taboo. But she was no longer a human. She was a witch. And there were some pleasures that only witches could understand. By now, she had tasted those pleasures and was totally immersed in them. After learning that the contents of the forbidden pot were honey, she could no longer live without them. No, maybe the contents were honey because they were forbidden. Anyway, by killing humans gruesomely and doing it over and over, she could feel the drug-like pleasure even now. As the witch rolled over laughing, the gold snake that had just been shot returned as though being reeled in. At the tips, 2 people were pinned and dragged along. The witch's order had been fulfilled. Rudolph and Kyrie had been killed instantly, and their corpses had been carried back.
Chiester's 45 and 410. Order execution complete. We await your next order, Great Lady Beatrice. Please, your orders. From babysitting to playing online games with you to shooting down a space shuttle, we'll take care of everything.
It looks like these 2 are the sacrifices for the 1st, 4th, and 5th Twilights. So in the end, I'll need those worthless 7 sisters. Or are they 5 sisters now? I need those guys to pierce and gouge the forehead and the chest. But I can do that at the very end, and I'm free to play in any way I want until then, right? Oh, wait. Have you already forgotten what I've told you?
Oh, it's you, Predecessor Sama. Do you have any complaints?
Of course I do. You're doing whatever you please, aren't you? Why haven't you followed my directions?
What's wrong with doing as I please, Predecessor Sama? Anyway, I don't plan on deviating from the rules of the ceremony in the slightest. I'll definitely clean those 2 corpses up later and drive stakes into their forehead and chest.
I'm telling you, that's not the problem. If you act so undignified and cruel, some people might take it badly.
You mean your opponent in that game? The one you're supposedly fighting against somewhere?
I don't know if it told me.
Damn that blabbermouth.
Well, to be perfectly honest, that's how it is. If you go a little too far, that person will object, you see?
Why can't this person just complain to me directly instead of making you take a message? That coward.
Well, this is a resident of a different world from yours. There's no choice but to use me as an intermediary. That's beside the point, but...
Which means that this person couldn't interact with me even if they wanted to. And I can't interact with them even if I want to either. Simply put, this is a completely unrelated person from a world that distant, right?
Indeed. For example, perhaps you could say these worlds are like very close parallel lines. The distance between them is quite small, but because the lines are parallel, they will never cross. For now, that should be a convenient way for you to view that world.
They never cross. Which means that world has nothing to do with me.
If you're speaking for that person when you tell me to show restraint, please pass this message on to them. To them? What should I say?
It's none of your business, so disappear, you old hag. If only you just give up and die.
What?
Oh, I'm sorry. Since it was a friend of yours, I just assumed she'd be a woman. By old hag, I'm definitely not talking about you, Predecessor Sama, so please don't get mad at me.
When she spoke, the witch was looking straight into Beato's eyes. Anyone present would be able to tell what she meant by it.
Predecessor-sama, there's something I find really strange. Why do you have to play a game with someone from another world and have him accept that you're a witch? Well, as to that, it's because making all humans accept the existence of witches is a prerequisite of perfect control. There was a single holdout who simply wouldn't accept me as a witch. Why would you need the approval of a human? Witches are witches and can use magic, so why should we need to be acknowledged by humans? Well, like I said earlier, magic is... I am a witch. I can use magic without anyone's approval in particular, so what's your point? In this world, right? However, since that person won't accept it, how should I explain it? I don't need you to. After all, isn't all this about a different world that never crosses with this one? In other words, that world might as well not exist. You fighting a game in another world is absolutely no different from you telling me about stuff from your imagination. I'll say it again. It has nothing to do with me. And I am already a witch. Predecessor-sama, somehow or another, it seems that you can't become a witch as long as this person doesn't acknowledge you. But I'm different. Even though no one has acknowledged me, I'm an excellent witch already. Since you are my predecessor, I will formally pay you respect. But that's out of kindness, not out of duty. I won't ask for your advice anymore, because I clearly know what I should do and how I should play from now on. So I will carry out the murder of 13 people as a final act of respect for you. However, there is absolutely no reason for you to interfere with the methods I use, or what I do afterwards. Therefore, I'll be counting on you in that regard. At a glance, those words seemed obedient, but they contained within them a clear parting of ways. She was no longer under Beato's care in any way. That's why she was clearly saying nothing more than, "Don't get in the way of my fun." Beato understood that and was dejected, realizing that no matter how she explained it, she wouldn't be able to make the witch understand. I see. Then it is no longer my problem. Go and learn with your own body how magic ceases to exist when you lose your respect for it. Hey Camel, welcome. How are you doing? I wish you'd tell me where the respect was in that carefree rampage of yours up until now. After hearing that, Beato could not respond, because she remembered hearing exactly the same thing from her teacher. Okay now, Chiester sisters, see off my predecessor on our way back. I'm doing good. Just, reading. We unlocked some new characters. Predecessor-sama, please leave this place. If you don't, we'll be scolded. Throughout her body, Beato felt something unseeable from the Chiester sisters, which could only be described as an oppressive sensation. Most likely, they were initiating firing calculations. It was an action much like taking out a gun and cocking it. Even Beato could not escape from the Chiester sisters' attacks without any preparation. In the past, she had placed her greatest trust in them, so she knew how terrifying they were down to her very soul. Predecessor-sama, if you would retire, I would not recommend damaging Beatrice-sama's mood any further. Predecessor-sama, I understand. I shall leave for now. I'll watch over the end you eventually reach at my leisure. It was almost infinitely close to a parting shot. So, after Beato vanished, the witch and her furniture doubled over laughing. Well, I do understand.
The endless power is fun. The joy of freely toying with an extremely limited life cannot be explained to those who have not tasted it. I can understand that feeling of being possessed with a pleasure similar to drugs. It must have been quite fun, judging by your antics in the past. Are you saying it's just like when you tried to admonish me in the past, over and over, and I did not listen? Why have you started trying to scold that child for her actions? And yeah, it's the Thanos snap before the Thanos snap existed. That's what it is. You're right. Well, there's a single large difference between you and that child. That child may already be a witch. Of course, you are also a witch. At least, in the world on top of the game board. However, to be acknowledged as a witch in the world outside the game board, you need to have Battler, your opponent in this game, acknowledge you. You must have understood that when you started the game. I thought that if I could show off a whirlwind of proof that I am a witch, blow away his desire to deny me and make him surrender, he would acknowledge me as a witch. It all went my way last time, so I thought I was just a breath away. It's actually the opposite. Battler was disgusted by our brutality. He did not step up to the plate as a player because he acknowledged you as a worthy opponent. It was based on a strong animosity, his resolve to completely deny the existence of a brutal witch. In your foolishness, you probably felt that Battler's acceptance of his role as your opponent was a first step towards making him acknowledge you as a witch. However, it was actually the opposite. Battler challenged you in this game because he was absolutely determined not to acknowledge you. No matter how hard the thoughtless north wind blows, the traveler only wears his cloak even tighter. You were committing a huge error from the very beginning. This game is not torture to make Battler surrender. It is a test in which you must try to make Battler accept you. I vaguely noticed that. The last game was a tough one for Battler. But, as it seems you've already noticed, this game is a tough one for you. What should I do from now on? Think about it for yourself. Fortunately, you have already given up your pieces on the game world board to the new witch. You should have plenty of time to reflect upon your own self. But Battler's already a massive hostility to me. He won't accept witches, so he won't accept me. In that case, what can I do to make him accept me? Are you saying that if the north wind doesn't work, then I should shine on him as the sun from now on? Me, after all this time. It's October now, the Halloween season. It's the month of rebirth, when the sun dies and is revived again. When the sun is weak, right after reviving, it may not reach far through the cold winter winds. However, it slowly grows and is eventually able to hail the coming of spring. At that time, the traveler may even fold up his cloak. Oh hey Num Num, welcome to the stream. How are you doing? Are you saying that I've been mistaken? The beautiful hall of the Ushinomiya mansion was covered with a golden sparkle like gold leaf, and stained deep red with thick spurts of blood. The number of deaths given to Rudolph and Kitty had long surpassed anything you could count on both your fingers and your toes. The witch was breathing so hard her shoulders shook, but it wasn't because she was tired. Yeah, I'm doing alright too, thanks. She just couldn't hide her ragged breaths caused by her still uncontainable excitement.
How fun it is to do as I will with people's lives and deaths. With the power of the Endless Witch, the endless everything I paint with my mind becomes reality. No matter how sloppily I mash them, I can revive them, returning them to normal with just a snap of my fingers. Because in the end, I just have to restore the corpses and follow the epitaph as an afterthought. Hey, you guys. Have you ever sliced a stuffed animal's stomach open? Never. What about you, 45? No, I have never done it. My apologies. That's understandable. Normally you wouldn't. Especially not if it was a stuffed animal you liked. But I've always thought about it. Everyone in this family is a psychopath. It's not true, but oh my god. I've always thought about peeking in and seeing what was packed inside this fluffy stuffed animal I loved. If you cut it and looked inside, your curiosity might be quelled, but the stuffed animal would be broken. So even though you want to see, you can't. You understand that feeling, right? Yeah, exactly. It's so wholesome. The power of the Endless Witch can truly grant that wish. As I am now, I can slice the stuffed animal all I want. And yet, with a bit of magic, I can return it to normal and revive it. In other words, it means I've broken all limitations in this world. As I am now, I don't have to hesitate or give up an idea or anything. Joy? There's probably no one who can understand it. No one other than me, the Golden Witch. As the witch let out a mad war cry, she revived Rudolph and Kitty again. And faster than they could realize it, she killed them right away. And she made it known. Yeah, we are past her minutes in the spotlight, but oh my god, were they great minutes. I love her. She's so fucking cool. And she made it known that something other than cotton was stuffed inside those two. Quit it, Ava. Huh? Ah, it's you. How long have you been there? In that gruesome hall, Hideyoshi appeared with his gun readied. The witch had sealed the mansion with a barrier, so Hideyoshi had nowhere to run. He'd probably picked up Rudolph's or Kitty's gun and come back. The gun, which should have been something to be feared, was apparently no longer an object she took seriously now that she was overflowing with magical power. Her bold expression didn't flinch in the slightest. Why did you have to kill Rosa-san and Maria-chan? And Rudolph-kun and Kiryu-san? Huh? I'm the head of the Ushinomiya family, the witch of Rokenshima. Everything that occurs on this island is all up to me. Whether they happen to be alive or dead at any particular moment in time is meaningless to me. You went mad after finding Father's gold. Just how high must that gold have been piled? I can't even imagine it. It must have been enough to steal away your sanity. But if there was that much gold, why didn't you think of graciously splitting it up? You misunderstand. All of that belongs to the Golden Witch. No one is qualified to touch it except me. What are you? Don't tell me you're that thing Ava told me long ago. The witch Ava from when she was young. That's right. I am the me from my years as a girl, who's been living in the heart of your wife, Ushinomiya Ava, this whole time. And I'm a witch. Ava became an adult by forgetting me, so she can't use magic. All kids get their heads filled with innocent but cruel ideas sometimes. When I was young, I'd sometimes go around stepping on ants and pulling the wings off dragonflies. How dare you? However, I learned the importance of life and graduated from that cruel childhood age.
Right now, you really are a child. A personality that I know Ava graduated from. That personality isn't Ava. It's a completely different human.
That's right. I am not Uchinomiya Eva. I am the Golden Witch, Beatrice. It's so fun, not being bound by any limitations, and the pleasure of being able to do as I will with life and death is truly wonderful. I don't have to apologize for breaking a goldfish bowl, and I can tear stuffed animals up as much as I want.
There was a crisp sound. It was the sound of Hideyoshi slapping the witch's face. Looking at the hall stained deep red with fresh blood, he should have been able to imagine how terrible the witch was. But without fear, without even hesitating, Hideyoshi had walked determinedly up to her and hit her on the cheek. You fool! Don't act like you're cruel. Not when you're really a coward and a weakling. Yeah, if a witch acts up, just slap him. Apparently. I'll correct that evil nature of yours again if I have to. You fool. Fool.
Ow! Ow! Hey!
You're a woman who understands how important, how fragile a life is, aren't you? I'll make you remember. What are you calling a witch, you stupid fool? You're my wife, Yoshinomiya Eva. If anything, you're the witch of the kitchen who can always make the perfect snacks out of the refrigerator leftovers in a flash. Won't you open your eyes, you fool?
Didn't I just tell you that I'm not Yoshinomiya Eva?
You stupid fool. You. As tears dripped down his face, Hideyoshi kept hitting the witch's head. He wasn't even pointing the gun at her anymore. Therefore, that sound of gunfire couldn't have come from the gun Hideyoshi was holding. The gun, which had fallen in the corner near Riddle's corpse, was floating in the air, and smoke lingered near the barrel. And the bullet? The red stain was slowly spreading across the chest section of Hideyoshi's vest. Even though his back was facing the barrel of the gun, the bullet had driven through Hideyoshi's chest. Eva...
Like I said, I'm not Eva. What a stupid, annoying man.
You're a pain, so I'll switch the sacrifice of the sixth twilight to you. If only you're just hidden under some bed shaking or something. I plan on letting you go. But no, you went to all the trouble of coming back. You really are a stupid man. Thunk. There was a dull sound as Hideyoshi fell to the floor. Even though death would have allowed him to escape from that pain, he resisted until the last second. And staring straight into the witch's eyes, he passed away. Because he had died without closing his eyes, the witch didn't realize that he was dead for a short while, and remained pinned by that gaze. She did break a promise, but I think it very much depends on the witch who does the promise making.
Should we make this one a new toy and play?
At those words, the witch finally realized that Hideyoshi was dead. Yeah. Right, what'll we do? The Chiester sisters waited for instructions. On the inside, they imagined the sorts of even more brutal orders their master might give. But the expression that rose to the witch's face looked as though she'd gotten over her excitement. She looked down at Hideyoshi's face, which still had tears dripping down it. It's such a killjoy, and it's all this guy's fault. I'm done. Ranave, are you there? Yes, right here. Take care of the cleanup.
I'll bet the predecessor someone makes a fuss over this one. Please make it clean enough for that old hag to accept. I guess I'll follow the rules of the ceremony. I'd have a sense of obligation to my predecessor Sama. Treat these 3 corpses as the 4th through 6th twilights. Lucifer, it's your turn. Lucifer of Pride, right here. Dig into these 3 corpses and gouge them. Into corpses? That's right. Got a problem with that? No. The 7 Sisters of Purgatory had their own sort of pride. It was the pride of a hunter, the pride of gouging prey that they had brought down themselves. However, being told to gouge a corpse that someone else had brought down ran contrary to that sentiment. Of course, the witch didn't mean it that way, but for the 7 sisters, it was horribly humiliating. However, they had already screwed this up, with 2 of the sisters defeated, so they had no right to question her. Only Ronove appreciated this, and he rested his hand on her shoulder in understanding. This is an order from Beatrice-sama. Lucifer, carry these 3 and dispose of them in accordance with the etiquette of the ceremony. Then, when you are done, lend me a hand with the cleanup. Certainly. The witch looked down upon Hideyoshi's corpse, as though implying that the now delicate atmosphere was all Hideyoshi's fault. Stupid man. You didn't even have to die. And you... To be fair, you can trust Maria with a lot of things, including stuff about witches. But Ava Beatrice did basically murder her, so, you know. I would also consider that a broken promise, honestly. In a sense, you know. Hold on, just grabbing some water. Dear. Dear, where are you? You're there, right? Answer me. The crash of a thunderbolt woke Ava from her nightmare. If Hideyoshi had been gripping her hand at that time, her fearful heart would probably have been instantly healed. However, Hideyoshi, who had supposedly sworn that he wouldn't leave even for a moment, was nowhere to be seen in the room. Dear, answer me. Dear. Just get a new husband. Where? They're running out of people on this island. Yeah, it's more than I was trying to say, like, witches never break a promise was something that Beatrice, Beato told Maria. So that's like a promise between them. I don't think it applies to other witches. To be fair, that's never confirmed or denied, but... But, like, between those two? Absolutely. 30 minutes had already passed since Rudolph's group had left the guest house. By any measure, their return was too late. And Kraus and Natsuhi, who waited by the entrance, were reaching the limits of their patience. The chain was set on the door. That was a precaution in the event that Rudolph's group was attacked and the master key stolen from them. For that reason, they needed to wait by the entrance like this for the others to return. They really are too late. Don't you think something might have happened to them? Indeed.
Kraus glanced between his watch and the door, struggling to keep his composure. Something happened to prevent them from returning. A terrible thought, but it seems we should ready ourselves for that possibility. So it really was too reckless after all. That is what I said. Why did they go outside when they knew it was this dangerous? How foolish. Why go outside even though Rosa-san had just been attacked? Nothing will come of saying that now. At any rate, there are now 3 adults in the guest house. Me, you, and Ava, who's asleep with a high fever. At that time, the forceful sound of a door being opened came from the hallway, and they heard Ava's panicked voice. That voice kept calling out Hideyoshi's name. It seemed as though she'd had a bad dream or something due to her fever, and was calling for her husband. Ava-san, what is it? Are you okay? Where is my husband? My husband isn't here. Even though he promised that he'd stay with me the whole time. Even though he promised that he'd grasp my hand the whole time. Kraus was struck dumb by this attitude of hers, which he had never shown in front of him before, but Natsuhi understood her feelings. Calm down. Hideyoshi-san is with Rudolph-san and Kiryu-san. They're outside right now. Outside? Why? Why did he go outside? After he promised that he'd stay with me the whole time. You mustn't go outside. The witch is outside. You mustn't go. You'll be killed. Ava, calm yourself. Hideyoshi-san returned to the mansion with Rudolph and Kiryu-san. Why did he have to go to the mansion? Why did he go outside even though it's safe here? Why did he go back to the mansion? They went to get enough food to last until tomorrow. Hideyoshi-san was worried about your health, and said that that was partly why he wanted to go. When will they come back? When will they come back? Don't go outside, don't go to the rose garden, don't go to the mansion. The witch is there, the golden witch is walking about. If she finds you, you'll be killed, you'll definitely be killed. When will my husband come back? They left here 30 minutes ago. We are waiting for their return. 30 minutes ago? Isn't that strange? Why would it take so much time for them to go to the mansion to get food and come back? And why are you two just standing around here? We have to go get them. We have to hurry to where they are. Ava probably had quite a nightmare, and because it had continued even after she woke up, she could no longer hide her panic. Natsuhi tried calming her down, but all it did was make Ava's emotions explode even more. Maybe they heard that disturbance. Battler and the kids, who had supposedly been on the second floor, were peeking their faces through the crack of the lobby door. Kraus, Natsuhi, Ava, and Battler, George, Jessica, Nanjo. Everyone in the guest house had gathered by the entrance and understood the current situation. I agree with Mother. We should go to check on Father and the rest. Yeah, that's right. It's even possible that their load's too heavy and they're having trouble carrying it. They should welcome some extra hands. This happened right after Rosa-san was attacked. This may have been a secondary disaster connected to that. We should act with caution here and... Don't be a fool. What do you mean, caution? Are you saying we should let my husband die even though he might be begging for help? I'm going to look and the cowards can stay here. Looking agitated, Ava raised her gun. Judging by her face, it would be useless for anyone to try and stop her. George, who realized that first, raised his head. I'll go as well. You will too, right, Battler-kun? The more people, the better. Sure. Aunt Ava, we're coming even if you tell us not to. I'm coming too. I can't be the only one to hide in a safe place. Jessica, you must not go outside. Stay here with me. Got it? It was like they were implying that those three had already been killed anyway, so going outside would be pointless. Natsuhi realized that Eva had felt like her heart had been gouged out, but she spoke out strongly as Jessica's mother. You're right. That should be fine. Let's have Nissan's family keep an eye on the guest house. This is a problem for my family and Battler-kun's. And I wonder if Dr. Nanjo would mind coming too, just in case. In the hall of the mansion, Battler, Eva, George, and Nanjo found the corpses of Rudolph, Kirie, and Hideyoshi. They are very much not genre savvy, you're totally right. The 4th through 6th Twilights. Then, the corpses were pierced through the forehead, chest, and stomach with those demon stakes? Yes. The demon stakes were buried into them, one in Rudolph's forehead, one in Hideyoshi's chest, and one in Kirie's stomach. The disorder of the clothing on all three suggests that they were fighting or running away. Since the 3 corpses were not found right next to each other, it is hypothesized that after coming into contact with the culprit, they attempted some form of resistance. And they had stakes in the forehead, chest, and stomach. Horrible, just like usual. Even though Ronova knew it would be superfluous, he contemplated telling Battler the truth. Normally, the witch would have killed them in a much, much more horrible way. The corpses had been left in this manner only because Beato had suggested to the witch that she show restraint. The new witch, thinking it would fit well enough as long as she gouged them with stakes, would probably have just stuck a stake into a lump of meat that wasn't even shaped like a human. Rosa's and Maria's corpses were a particularly striking example. If they'd been killed as the Golden Witch had wished, just how gruesome would the corpses have been? Beato had changed that into the still better kind of killing Battler had mentioned earlier. Wanting to have Beato's small bit of thoughtfulness appreciated, he thought of telling Battler about this. But, judging by Battler's eyes, that might do more harm than good. To humans, the gap between being alive and being dead is very large. Saying that she'd given them better deaths might have made it possible for a demon to understand her feelings and pardon her, but there was no way a human would be so accepting. Understanding this, Ronove remained silent despite knowing of Beato's modest efforts. Just like usual, let's start by checking whether the corpses are dead. Ronove, please declare it in red. Hey, can't you hear me? Please declare it in red. Repeat it. Rudolph, Kirie, and Hideyoshi are dead. My apologies. Allow me to decline from repeating that. The hell? What are you planning all of a sudden? By now, proclaiming that the victims were dead in red was almost a given in this battle. Refusing to do that was almost like losing by default. So when Ronove refused as part of his first move, Battler was dumbfounded. My apologies. As of this moment, I relinquish my position as Milady's representative. Accordingly, I cannot repeat that in red. The only one qualified to repeat that is Milady. His point is a valid one. Ronove is only a representative for Beato's side. If he steps down from that position, and if you will not accept Beato as an opponent, a new representative must be named. No new representative exists. Please, Battler-sama. Please accept Milady as your game partner once more. Sorry, but that's advice I can't listen to. I definitely won't accept that unpleasant, cruel bastard as my opponent. My refusal to accept her is why I can't step down from this game. As to her being unpleasant, I apologize in Milady's stead. Allow me to pledge that Milady will not undertake such unpleasant actions again. I wonder about that. Battler-kun, I also want to apologize as that child's teacher. I'll give that child a good talking to, so please offer your forgiveness just this once. Hey, enough of that. You're making it sound like I'm the bad guy. And no matter how much you guys apologize, it won't reach my ears. If Beato can say that from her own lips, well, I might listen to her. Understood. If that is your only condition for acknowledging your opponent again, let us have that child apologize. Ronabe, call for that child. Will that be alright, Battler-kun? Sheesh. Do whatever you want. Still, don't expect me to forgive her. Go get that irritating witch. You have my thanks, Battler-sama. I shall summon her here. Milady, Battler-sama is calling for you. After a few heartbeats, gold butterflies gathered together in midair and created Beato's form. It was a much more docile appearance than the ones she'd made before. Did you call, Ronove? I believe you heard. Is there something you have to say from your own lips? It looked as though Beato shrunk slightly under Battler's cold gaze. Several times, Beato made an effort to get the words out of her mouth, but that didn't work so well, and she was just as awkward as someone trying to light a match during a freezing winter with icy hands. Even as she did that, the game board was advancing. In the hall, they had just found the corpses of the new victims and had broken down crying. Dad, Kiria-san. Crying noises. More crying noises. I wish I could do those, but it's impossible for my voice somehow. Dear Mother, hang in there. Even for me, it's so crushing. It's so sad. They probably died instantly. I'm sure that even if he had arrived immediately after they fell, it would have been too late. No, that's wrong. They were definitely alive. His chest was stabbed with something like this. My husband must have died in extreme pain. If we had come faster, surely they would have been saved. They definitely would have been saved. It must be tough for you too, Battler-kun, but stay strong. I'm okay. It's okay, Aniki. But let me cry just a little bit longer. I've got it the best. I should be the least sad. So if you let me cry just a little longer, I'll be fine. That isn't true. I can understand how much it must hurt your heart to have lost both parents. I still have Mother. That's much better than what you're going through, Battler-kun. No, that's wrong. It's got to be toughest for you, George Aniki. Valor's not a contest, please. Please. I understand, Aniki. In this group, you're the saddest, and the one who is the toughest. I understand that, so I can't keep on sobbing like this. Why do you say it's toughest for me? To me, Dad and Kirie-san were people I'd eventually split up with when I grew up and became independent. Since their parents, it was fated that they'd die before their kids. It just happened a little early, that's all. But it's different for you, Aniki. You didn't just lose your parents, who would have parted ways with you eventually. You also lost Chan-chan, someone you should have spent the rest of your life with. You can't value human lives differently. Whether it's a baby or an old person, they should all be respected the same. But still, the more life that person has ahead of them, the longer the future you're building together is, the sadder the fact of their death is. Aniki, you were engaged to Shannon-chan, right? You promised that you'd build a life and a home together in the future, right? Compared to how huge that future was, compared to how huge that happiness was, stuff like my pain doesn't even come close. So you should be allowed to cry much, much more, Aniki. And yet, just because you act like a big brother to us cousins, you force yourself to act like you're so calm. Stop it, Balaku. George was trying to make a calm smile. I see what he's trying to do here, but this is not how that works. But already, he couldn't stop a single hot tear from leaving a streak down his face. There's no way I wouldn't be sad, right? Together with Shannon, I painted a picture of many futures in my mind. We talked of dreams that couldn't all come true even if we lived 100 years. Those dreams, even the very first one, having her move into my family register, could not be granted. So there's no way I wouldn't be sad, right? Compared to that, like I said, I have no right to cry anymore. When even you're struggling to hold it in, I have no right to shed any more tears. We're the same. We both feel the same sadness from losing those close to us. So there's no rule that says you can't shed any more tears than me, Battler-kun. And for me too, there's no rule that says I have to hold back my tears any longer, is there? Aniki. Shannon, the one who shared my dreams for the future, is dead. Father's dead too. So sad. So sad. As Battler and George hugged each other tightly, they cried a waterfall of tears over each other's shoulders for the people who had been so precious to them. Do you understand why I said that George Aniki has it the toughest? I was listening, so I understand. Your sadness is proportional to the length of time you would have been able to spend with that person afterwards. Of course, you can't calculate it just like that, though. We humans aren't like you witches. From the time we receive life to the moment we die, we live within that limited period as strongly as we can manage. I can't forgive anyone who makes light of that. And I definitely can't forgive anyone who sneers at people and toys with them. A person like you, whose very concept of death is all screwed up, probably can't understand that. I'm not just mad because of the length of time they would have lived afterwards. It's sneering at the lives of people living with all they've got. That's what I can't forgive the most. George Aniki lived his life by recklessly doing his best. He must have approached this day with a grim resolve to marry Shannon-chan, no matter the challenges. That's completely different from me, since I was happy just to be able to meet my cousins after a long while. But still. Beato, for now, stay silent and listen. Indeed. In a way, I understand your point. You say you need to continue murdering according to the epitaph for your own resurrection. So, considering your circumstances, I can just barely bring myself to understand your murders. Because to you, it's a necessary course of action. But that means all unnecessary actions you take beyond that are due to your meaningless and brutal tastes. In other words, if killing the 6 people for the first twilight was a necessary action for you, then all that show of crushing their faces and splitting their stomachs and stuffing them full of sweets was completely unnecessary, and caused by nothing more than your brutal hobby. That's an aspect of you that I definitely cannot forgive. Indeed. When you saw Aunt Rosa getting repeatedly killed in that horrible way, you apparently said something like, if they're going to be brought back to life in the end anyway, it doesn't matter how they're killed. I heard from Vigilia. Well, as to that, the idea that you can kill them as many times as you want, as long as you bring them back to life in the end, isn't that a completely unnecessary action, with no purpose other than to toy around with someone's life? If you're going to kill, do it instantly. Don't toy with them. If you won't kill them, then don't bully them. You're taking advantage of the fact that you can do as you will with people's lives, and you've forgotten the sanctity of life. So I can't accept or acknowledge you. I definitely can't accept as my opponent a person who doesn't know the value of a life, or the sadness felt when lives are lost. That is why the endless magic is known as a black art. The endless witch has no concept of limitations. She has no concept of the limitations and losses caused by breaking and killing. For that reason, endless witches sometimes start playing by jumping over the gap between life and death, like it's a game. That is a very, very frightening thing. So as an endless witch, and by my own choosing, I never reached your level. It was something Virgilia had been trying to tell Beato for a long time, but Beato had been too young to obediently listen to those words. She had been too wild. She had been possessed by that detestable pleasure. I have been told not to break vases, but that's why I wanted to break them. Then I gained the endless magic, when I knew that I could fix them back to normal no matter how badly I broke them. I was surprised at how fun it could be to break a vase. That is what's known as the forbidden honey. People are not captivated by what's inside. They are captivated by the sealed lock. It is truly regrettable. I want to ask you, Virgilia, why does this thing called the endless magic exist? For what purpose does it exist in this world? It is not limited to the endless magic. All magic exists to bring happiness to the human world. After everything that has happened, it may be difficult for you to believe, Badalakun, but in order to bring blessings to the human world, we witches are supposed to become bridges between humans and non-humans, and that is why we train so hard. How does reviving the dead and torturing them to death over and over again help the human world? When a vase that was an important memento is broken, if by fixing it, everyone will regain their smiles, I would repair it with magic as many times as necessary. However, I would not be fixing it in order to break it again. I would be reviving it to give humans happiness. In that case, Beato, you fail as an endless witch. Indeed. There's this thing I've been vaguely thinking about. Yeah, you're right, Num Num. Why do I keep playing this strange game against you? Maybe this game isn't about making me surrender. Maybe it's a test for you to be accepted as an endless witch, in the truest sense. I don't know about that. The reason I proposed this game to you was simply as a way to kill time. There were no ulterior motives at work. Just now, I heard the definition of a witch from Virgilia. By that definition, you, Beato, are not even a witch. You're an apprentice who's still in training and who misunderstands her own power. This was supposed to be a fight between a witch and a human. If you aren't a witch, then you aren't qualified to be my opponent. Understand? You say I'm still only an apprentice. Then when will I be accepted as your opponent once again? When can we resume this game? Who knows? At the very least, it isn't now. When you fully understand what I've said and become a real witch, I'll probably accept you as my opponent in this game once more. I can't understand if you say it so abstractly like that. Clearly tell me what I should do to earn your forgiveness. No, I've said enough. You think about the rest. That's all I want to say. If you can't figure it out, try talking with Virgilia and Ronove. A brat like you should start off by listening to what the adults say. Virgilia, suspend the game for now. Now that Ronove has stepped down as a representative, all we can do is wait for Beato to gain the qualifications of a proper opponent. Understood. Until Beato has been acknowledged as having earned those qualifications, the game will proceed without an opponent. Is that alright with you too, Beato? I have no objections. I want time and a place where I can think at a leisurely pace. May I leave my seat for that? Yeah, that's fine. Well then, see you later. Wait. Don't make that dejected face. Sorry about that. Letting everything inside my heart show up on my face is part of my personality. I cannot deceive. Then maybe there's still some hope for you. Let me promise you one thing. In this game with you, I might win, and I might lose. If you don't come back, it might be my victory by default. At that point, Battler stopped talking for a second. Then, he spoke forcefully. However, I definitely won't be the one to step down. I definitely won't give you a victory by default. I'll keep on waiting here for you, to sit there again as my worthy opponent. Butler-sama. Thank you, Battler. I will definitely come back and be accepted by you. After showing a hopeful smile for a very short while, Beato vanished. After seeing her expression as she left, Battler was absolutely convinced that her face could tell no lies. And with that, I think it's a good time to call it. I think that's the perfect stopping point. We have saved. We are ready to continue the story next week. Yeah. I'm good. It's not a cliffhanger again, but I think this is a nice little moment to end on. There we go. That's what I was trying to say. Alright, I'm gonna pop on some music and say my goodbyes, and I'm gonna be off. Whew. For some reason, that was a very tiring episode for me. Interesting. But, Yeah, I think it's a little shorter than last time, but that's okay. I'm gonna try to finish this entire episode within the next it's gonna be 9 most likely. I don't think I'm gonna be able to finish it next time. But after that. And then after that, in about 3 weeks, I'm gonna start in 4. And then we're gonna start with one of my favorite. We're gonna have one of my favorite parts in the whole series. It's horrible, you're gonna love it. Yeah, it's such a long series. It just takes so much time. Also, thank you for saying I did a good job. I really appreciate that. I'm glad. Yeah, episode 4 is so good. You're all gonna love it. I mean, if you're still here by now, you're absolutely gonna love it. Guaranteed. 7 is also very good. I also like 8 a lot. They're all honestly, they're all good. They're all good. I hope one day I'll be able to go into my thoughts on Kitty as a character, because I love her so much. But I feel like at this point it would be spoilers. And that goes for most things. I can't tell you my thoughts on anything yet. But one day, we'll get there. And yeah, making steady progress. Yeah, it's... I can't even delve into it, because literally anything I say could potentially be a spoiler. Anyway, we're good. I'll hold on to it. I'll hold on to the thoughts until after the series is over. And then I'm gonna just... you know, you're gonna hear all of it, whether you like it or not. Because this is my show. Okay. As always, I'm gonna cut this into a video, put it on YouTube. The VOD should be up by tomorrow, but like the cut down version, you know. But the VOD automatically gets uploaded anyway, so you can rewatch this whenever the hell you want. Oh, you're right, Num Num. It's such a fragile thing. Just any kind of comments, potential spoilers. But everyone's been doing really good, especially the people who have, you know, read the story before. We haven't had any big spoilers being dropped or anything like that, and I really appreciate that from you all, that you're not spoiling it for people who are new to the series. I appreciate that so much. And yeah. Thank you all very much for watching, for being here. Thank you for the save reminder, Vape. I'll double check if we did save. Yes, we did. See you next week. And have a great evening. And that's it. Thank you for watching. Have a good night. Bye bye.